Captain Kang Do-yun stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony and watched the massive space station grow larger through the viewport. Nexus Station was bigger than any human city he had ever seen. The metal and crystal structure stretched for hundreds of kilometers in all directions. Ships from dozens of alien races moved around it like tiny insects around a glowing flower. 3 years of waiting for this moment, he said to himself as he adjusted his dark blue uniform. The Earth insignia on his shoulder felt heavier than usual today. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. They all knew how important this day was for humanity. Dr. Park Min-ji walked onto the bridge carrying a black case filled with documents. She was Earth's best diplomat and had spent the last 3 years learning alien languages and customs. Her face looked calm, but Do-hyun could see the tension in her eyes. She had worked harder than anyone to make this meeting happen. "The council chamber is ready for us," she said in a steady voice. "Remember, we need to show them that humans can be trusted. No sudden movements. No raised voices. They are already afraid of us because of our military history." Do-hyun nodded. Every human in space knew the stories about Earth's wars. The aliens called them primitive warmongers and emotional savages, but they had never seen humans fight for something they truly believed in. Today was different. Today was about peace and joining the galactic community. The docking process took 2 hours. Alien technology was advanced but slow and careful. Everything had to be perfect for beings who lived for hundreds of years. Time moved differently when you had so much of it. Humans learned patience during these 3 years of waiting and proving themselves worthy. Commander Lee Jae-won met them at the airlock. He had been stationed on Nexus Station for 6 months as part of the diplomatic team. His job was to observe and report back to Earth about alien behavior and technology. He looked tired but managed a small smile when he saw his old friend Do-hyun. "The council members have been arguing about us for weeks," Jae-won whispered as they walked through the station corridors. "Some want to accept us, but others think we are too dangerous. The Kethmori delegate has been the loudest voice against human membership." The corridors of Nexus Station were built for many different species. Some parts had low gravity for the floating Etherians, while others had thick atmosphere for the methane-breathing Vorthax. Humans could adapt to most environments, but they still needed their breathing masks in many sections. Dr. Park listened carefully to everything Jae-won told them about the council races. The Kethmori were crystalline beings who thought in terms of mathematical perfection. They saw human emotions as chaos that disrupted their ordered universe. The Zephyrians were an ancient race that considered themselves the most evolved species in the galaxy. They looked down on younger races like humanity. As they approached the council chamber, Do-hyun noticed something strange. There were more security, guards than usual, and most of them were not looking at the human delegation with curiosity. They were watching them like potential threats. His military training made him count exit routes and defensive positions without thinking about it. The council chamber was a massive dome with 12 seats arranged in a circle. Each seat was designed for a different alien species. In the center was a platform where those who wished to address the council would stand. The lighting was dim and blue, which was supposed to be calming for most alien species. To human eyes, it looked cold and unwelcoming. Velthar of the Kethmori was the first to speak. The crystalline being's voice came through translation devices that made it sound like wind chimes mixed with computer static. "We have reviewed the human application for galactic citizenship," it said without any warmth. "Your species has shown technological progress, but your violent history concerns us greatly." Dr. Park stepped forward onto the central platform. She had practiced this speech hundreds of times. "Honored council members, humanity has learned from its past mistakes. We have had no major conflicts for over 50 years. Our colonies are peaceful and productive. We wish only to contribute to galactic civilization." The Zephyrian delegate was next to speak. These beings looked like tall, thin humans, but with pale blue skin and large black eyes. "Your emotional nature makes you unpredictable," it said in a voice that sounded bored. "How can we trust beings who make decisions based on feelings rather than logic?" Emotions give us strength, Park replied carefully. They help us protect those we care about and drive us to achieve great things. Human art, music, and literature come from our emotions. We believe this adds value to galactic culture. Several council members made sounds that the translation devices could not convert. Do-Yun guessed they were expressions of dismissal or disgust. He felt his jaw muscles tighten but kept his face neutral. Getting angry now would only prove their point about human emotions being dangerous. Commander Jae-won was standing in the observation area with other diplomatic staff from various species. He was quietly recording everything on devices that looked like simple data pads but were actually sophisticated surveillance equipment. Earth needed to know exactly what was being said and how each council member reacted. The questioning continued for 3 hours. Each council member asked Dr. Park about human military capabilities, population growth, resource consumption, and territorial expansion. She answered every question with patience and detailed information. She showed charts about human colonies that were models of environmental protection and peaceful cooperation. But Do-Hyun could see that the questions were not really about learning more about humanity. They were about finding reasons to reject the application. The council had already made up their minds. This was just a show to make their rejection seem fair and reasonable. The Vorthak delegate was particularly hostile. These were large, insect-like creatures that communicated through chemical signals as well as sounds. Your species breeds too quickly and consumes resources at an alarming rate. It clicked through its translation device. You would upset the balance of galactic civilization. We have strict population controls on all our colonies, Dr. Park replied. Our resource usage is well within acceptable limits according to galactic standards. We are willing to accept monitoring and guidance from the Council. Velthar's crystalline form began to glow brighter, which Jae-won had learned was a sign of agitation or strong emotion in the Kethmori. Monitoring is not enough. Your species has proven that it cannot be trusted with advanced technology. You developed faster-than-light travel independently, which shows dangerous ambition. The chamber fell silent. This was the real issue. Humanity had developed FTL technology without alien help, which was almost unheard of in galactic history. Most species received the technology from older races after proving they were ready for it. Humans had figured it out on their own, which made them unpredictable. Dr. Park knew this was the crucial moment. We developed FTL technology because we needed to explore and grow. It is part of human nature to push boundaries and discover new things. We use this technology to build peaceful colonies and establish trade relationships. We have never used it for aggressive expansion, yet, said the Zephyrian delegate coldly. You have never used it for aggression yet, but your history shows that humans always turn to violence when they face challenges. We cannot risk the stability of our civilization for a species that might become a threat. The vote was quick and unanimous. All 12 council members rejected humanity's application for galactic citizenship, but that was not the worst part. Velthar stood up and its crystalline body pulsed with different colors as it delivered the final insult. The council has decided that humanity poses a potential threat to galactic peace, it announced. You will surrender your faster-than-light technology and submit to re-education programs designed to reduce your aggressive tendencies. Your colonies will be placed under council supervision until we determine that your species has evolved beyond its primitive nature. And if we refuse, Dr. Park asked, though she already knew the answer, then humanity will be quarantined from the rest of the galaxy permanently. Your ships will not be allowed in council space, and any attempt to expand beyond your current territory will be met with appropriate force. Dr. Park bowed slightly, which was the proper way to show respect to the council according to diplomatic protocol. We understand the council's concerns. Earth will need time to consider these terms and consult with our government. You have 30 days, Velthar said as the council members began to leave their seats. After that, we will assume that humanity has chosen quarantine. As the chamber emptied, Commander Jae-won approached the human delegation. His face was carefully neutral, but Do-Hyun could see the anger in his friend's eyes. They had all expected rejection, but the demand to surrender their technology was worse than anyone had imagined. "There's something else," Jaehwan whispered as they walked back toward their ship. "I've been monitoring communications between the Council races. Several of them have been moving military ships toward human territory over the past few weeks. They're not planning to wait 30 days. Dr. Park nodded slowly. She had suspected as much from the way the Council members had acted during the session. This had never been about giving humanity a fair chance to join galactic civilization. 3 weeks had passed since the Council's ultimatum, and humanity had been unusually quiet. No protests, no angry messages, no military movements that alien sensors could detect. The galactic news networks reported that Earth was considering its options, while diplomatic channels remained open for negotiation. The Kethmori and Zephyrian alliance felt confident that their show of force had worked. Humans were known for being emotional, but they were not stupid. Faced with the combined might of two of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, they would have no choice but to surrender their technology and accept Council supervision. Velthar was reviewing reports from Alliance intelligence services when the first attack began. The target was New Sol Colony in the Kepler 442 system, a peaceful human settlement of 2.3 million people. The colony was chosen specifically because it had no military installations and was far from Earth's main defense networks. Governor Kim Sunho was having breakfast with his family when the emergency alarms began to sound. Through his kitchen window, he could see the morning sun reflecting off the agricultural domes that surrounded the capital city. New Sol was one of humanity's most successful colonies, a model of environmental harmony and efficient resource management. "Dad, what's that sound?" asked his 12-year-old daughter as she looked up from her school tablet. The alarms were getting louder and more urgent. Kim Sunho had heard these drills before, but this felt different. There was real fear in the voices of the emergency announcers. "Stay with your mother," he told his daughter as he activated his communication device. The governor's emergency channel was chaos. Military officers, civilian administrators, and traffic controllers were all talking at once. Through the noise, he heard the words that made his blood run cold. "Unknown ships dropping out of hyperspace, massive energy signatures. They're not responding to our communications." Governor Kim rushed to the colony's command center where dozens of technicians were working frantically at their stations. The main display screen showed 12 enormous ships that had appeared at the edge of the star system. The ships were unlike anything in human databases, crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," reported the communications officer. "It's in standard galactic common language." The message that filled the command center was delivered in the cold, emotionless voice of a Kethmori translator. "Attention, human settlement. You are in violation of Galactic Council Resolution 847 Alpha. Your species has refused to comply with lawful demands for technology surrender and behavioral modification. This colony will be placed under Council protection immediately." Colony protection had a very specific meaning in galactic law. It meant that the local population would be removed for their own safety, while their territory was administered by Council forces. For most species, this was a temporary measure that lasted until the political situation was resolved. For humans, Kim Sunho knew it would be permanent. "Send a message to Earth Defense Command," he ordered. "Tell them we're under attack by Council forces. Make sure they know we tried to communicate peacefully." The alien ships moved with frightening speed toward the inner system. Their weapons began charging even before they reached New Sol's orbital space. This was not going to be a negotiation or a peaceful occupation. The Alliance had decided to make an example of the colony. Captain Na Yuna was commanding the colonial defense ship Defiance when the first shots were fired. Her small vessel was one of only 3 military ships stationed at New Sol, designed to deal with pirates and smugglers rather than full-scale alien invasion. She watched in horror as the crystalline dreadnoughts opened fire on civilian targets. "All ships, this is Defiance Actual," she broadcast on the emergency military channel. "We are engaging hostile forces. All civilian transports begin immediate evacuation procedures. Get as many people off planet as possible." The Defiance was a small frigate with basic weapons and shields, Against a single Kethmori dreadnought, it would have been destroyed in minutes. But Captain Na had spent 15 years in the human colonial defense force, and she understood something that the aliens did not. Sometimes the goal was not to win, but to buy time. Her ship danced between the massive alien vessels like a mosquito attacking elephants. The Defiance's weapons could barely scratch the crystalline hulls, but that was not the point. Every shot she fired forced the alien ships to adjust their targeting and lose precious seconds. Every second meant more civilian transports could escape. Other 2 human ships followed her lead. Captain So Jinwoo of the courier vessel, Swift Arrow, and Lieutenant Commander Oh Dae-hyun of the patrol craft Guardian joined the desperate battle. Their combined firepower was laughably small compared to the alien fleet, but their coordination was perfect. The Alliance commanders were confused by human tactics. Most species fought according to established patterns of engagement. Ships of similar size battled each other, while larger vessels targeted strategic objectives. The humans were ignoring these rules completely. Their tiny ships were attacking capital ships while working together in ways that made no logical sense. "Sir, the human vessels are using some kind of networked targeting system," reported a Zephyrian tactical officer aboard the Alliance flagship. "They're sharing sensor data and coordinating their attacks in real time. Our predictive algorithms cannot track their movement patterns." The Alliance fleet commander, a Zephyrian named Torvek, was not impressed. "They are insects. Destroy them quickly so we can complete the primary mission." But the insects were proving harder to swat than expected. Captain Na had ordered her ships to use random evasion patterns while maintaining constant communication. Human reaction times were much faster than most alien species, allowing them to coordinate complex maneuvers that looked impossible to outside observers. The battle lasted 47 minutes. In that time, the 3 human ships managed to evacuate over 800,000 civilians. Transport ships, cargo haulers, personal shuttles, and even converted mining equipment carried refugees away from New Seoul as fast as their engines could manage. But 1.5 million people could not be evacuated in 47 minutes. When the Defiance finally ran out of ammunition and had its engines destroyed by concentrated alien fire, Captain Na broadcast a final message to the retreating civilian transports. "Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them we held the line as long as we could. Tell them to remember New Seoul." The Alliance bombardment of the colony lasted 6 hours. They did not target military installations because there were none left to destroy. They targeted schools, hospitals, residential areas, and cultural centers. When the bombardment ended, New Seoul Colony no longer existed. Governor Kim Sun-ho died with his family in their home when a Kethmori particle beam turned the residential district into a crater of molten rock. Captain Nayuna died at her post when the Defiance was finally overwhelmed by enemy fire. Over 2 million human civilians died in what the Alliance called a minimal response to colonial non-compliance. The news of the massacre reached Earth within hours. Quantum communication networks that the aliens thought they understood perfectly carried the testimony of surviving refugees to every human world. The images were broadcast on every news channel and communication network in human space. Admiral Cho Hyun-woo was in his office at Earth Defense Command when the reports started arriving. He was a veteran of the corporate wars and had seen his share of violence, but the systematic destruction of New Seoul was different. This was not war between military forces. This was extermination. "Sir, we are receiving reports from our observation posts throughout the sector," reported his aide, Commander Bae Sung-ho. "Alliance fleets are moving toward at least 6 more human colonies. They appear to be planning follow-up attacks." The Admiral studied the tactical displays showing alien ship movements. The pattern was clear. The Alliance intended to destroy human colonies one by one until Earth surrendered completely. They believed that humans would break under pressure just like most other species. "Get me a secure line to President Yoon," he ordered, "and send a priority message to all fleet commanders. Tell them to prepare for Operation Nemesis authorization, President." Yoon Sora was meeting with her cabinet when the call from Admiral Cho arrived. She had been hoping against hope that the Alliance would be satisfied with their diplomatic victory and leave human colonies alone. The destruction of New Sol changed everything. Madam President, the Alliance has made their intentions clear, Admiral Cho said over the secure communication link. They don't want our surrender. They want our extinction. We cannot protect our colonies with conventional defensive strategies. President Yoon looked around the cabinet room at the faces of her advisors. Secretary of Defense Lim Kyung-jae nodded grimly. Director of Colonial Affairs Won Hyeju was visibly shaken by the refugee reports. Intelligence Director Kang Mirai was already pulling up classified files on her tablet. How long do we have before the next attack? President Yoon asked. Based on Alliance fleet movements, approximately 72 hours. They're targeting the Gliese colonies next. 3 million people total. The president closed her eyes for a moment and thought about the oath she had taken when she assumed office. She had sworn to protect humanity from all threats, whether they came from Earth or from the stars. General Bang Seokjin stood in the war room deep beneath the Swiss Alps and watched as humanity's true nature was finally revealed. The room had been built 50 years ago during the corporate wars, but it had been redesigned for a different kind of conflict. Every surface was covered with displays showing star maps, alien fleet positions, and classified research projects that the galaxy never knew existed. Operation Nemesis is now active, he announced to the assembled officers. All diplomatic protocols are suspended. We are no longer seeking galactic citizenship. We are at war. The officers in the room represented the best military minds that humanity had produced. Colonel Park Ji-hoon was an expert in special operations and psychological warfare. Commander Im Yeji specialized in fleet tactics and strategic planning. Captain Jeon Tae-young had spent 3 years developing stealth technology that alien sensors could not detect. Sir, our intelligence networks report that Alliance forces are preparing to attack the Gliese colonies, reported Major Ryu Minho, the head of military intelligence. They believe we are negotiating in good faith while they position their fleets for maximum intimidation effect. General Bang smiled coldly. Let them position their fleets wherever they want. Dr. Lim, are your biological warfare protocols ready for deployment? Dr. Lim Gyuri was not a military officer, but she had been working with the Defense Department for 2 years on classified projects. She was a xenobiologist who had spent the diplomatic period studying every aspect of alien physiology under the cover of medical research and cultural exchange programs. All target species have been analyzed and cataloged, she reported. We have developed specific countermeasures for each council race's biological weaknesses. The Keth-Mori silicon-based neural networks are vulnerable to harmonic disruption. The Zephyrian brain chemistry can be altered with targeted chemical agents. The Vorthak respiratory systems cannot filter certain atmospheric contaminants, and these countermeasures are ready for immediate deployment. Yes, sir. We have been manufacturing them for 18 months under the cover of medical supply production. Every human ship and station has been equipped with the necessary delivery systems. The alien races thought they understood human technology because human diplomatic missions had freely shared information about their capabilities. What the aliens did not know was that humans had a long history of keeping their most advanced weapons secret until they were needed. Captain John Tae-young stepped forward with a data tablet showing ship schematics that looked nothing like the vessels the aliens had observed. Sir, the stealth fleet is ready for deployment. Quantum masking technology is fully operational, and we have confirmed that alien sensors cannot detect our ships when the system is active. How many ships? 47. Vessels of various classes, all equipped with enhanced weapon systems and adaptive shielding. We also have infiltration capabilities that will allow us to plant surveillance and sabotage equipment on alien installations. General Bang looked at the star map showing Alliance fleet positions. The aliens were concentrated around human colonies in defensive formations that would be effective against conventional attacks. They had no idea that humans did not plan to fight conventionally. Colonel Park, what is the status of our psychological warfare capabilities? Colonel Park had been studying alien cultures and communication methods for 3 years. His job was to understand how different species thought and what would frighten them most effectively. Sir, we have identified specific psychological triggers for each target species. The Keth-Mori fear chaos and disorder. The Zephyrians cannot handle emotional stimuli. The Vorthax are terrified of biological contamination. We can exploit these fears, yes, sir. We have prepared specific attack patterns designed to maximize psychological impact while minimizing our resource expenditure. The aliens will not just face military defeat. They will face terror campaigns that target their deepest instincts and cultural fears. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications of what they were planning. This was not going to be a traditional war between military forces fighting for territory or resources. This was going to be a systematic campaign to destroy the Alliance's ability and willingness to continue fighting. "Sir, we have one more asset that the aliens don't know about," said Commander Imyeji. "Our intelligence operations during the diplomatic period were more extensive than they realize. We have detailed information about every Alliance military, installation, supply line, and communication network." She activated a holographic display showing the Keth-Mori home system. The image was incredibly detailed, showing not just the locations of shipyards and defense platforms, but also the internal structure of command facilities and the daily schedules of key personnel. How did we get this level of detail? Diplomatic, cultural exchange programs, sir. Trade missions, scientific cooperation projects, and student exchange programs. Over 3 years, we placed observers throughout Alliance space. They think our people were there to learn about alien culture and technology. General Bang studied the intelligence data with satisfaction. The humans had not just been preparing weapons during the diplomatic period. They had been conducting the most comprehensive intelligence operation in galactic history. They knew more about Alliance capabilities than the Alliance knew about itself. "Very well. Phase 1 begins immediately. Captain John, take your stealth fleet to the Keth-Mori shipyard complex at Velnara. Your mission is complete destruction of their military production capability. No survivors, no witnesses, no evidence of how it was done." "Understood, sir. What about civilian casualties?" "There will be no civilian casualties because there are no civilians in military shipyards. We are not targeting population centers or non-combatants. We are targeting the military assets that threaten human colonies." "Captain." John saluted and left the war room to prepare his fleet. The other officers began coordinating their own missions as humanity's true military capabilities were revealed for the first time. The first strike came without warning. 17 human stealth ships dropped out of quantum space directly inside the Keth-Mori shipyard complex at Velnara. The alien defense systems never detected the approaching fleet because human quantum masking technology was 50 years more advanced than anything the Alliance possessed. The attack lasted exactly 17 minutes. Human weapons that the aliens had never seen before tore through crystalline hulls like paper. Molecular disruptors turned solid matter into component atoms in seconds. Quantum torpedoes created localized space-time distortions that simply erased sections of the shipyards from existence. But the most terrifying aspect of the attack was its precision. The humans did not just destroy the shipyards. They eliminated every piece of manufacturing equipment, every computer core, every technical manual, and every engineer who might have the knowledge to rebuild what was lost. When Keth-Mori rescue ships arrived at Velnara 6 hours later, they found something that their species had never experienced before. Complete and total annihilation of military infrastructure. Not damaged, not captured, not temporarily disabled, completely erased as if it had never existed. "How is this possible?" whispered Velthar as it studied the reports from Velnara. "The humans had 3 small ships at New Sol. How do they suddenly possess weapons that can do this?" The answer came from Alliance Intelligence Services 12 hours later. Human diplomatic missions had been equipped with surveillance technology that was far more advanced than anyone realized. During 3 years of peaceful cooperation, human observers had been mapping every Alliance military installation and studying alien technology in detail. "Sir, we are receiving similar reports from Zephyrian and Vorthak installations," reported a terrified Keth-Mori analyst. "The humans have attacked 17 different targets simultaneously. All military facilities, all completely destroyed, all with no warning or detection by our sensor networks." The Alliance Emergency Council convened in panic session as reports continued to arrive. Human strikes were occurring throughout Alliance space with impossible precision and coordination. The attacks were not random acts of revenge. They were carefully planned operations designed to cripple Alliance military capabilities while sending a clear message. Fleet Admiral Oh Soo-young broadcast that message on all galactic communication frequencies from her flagship, the UES Retribution. The ship was using technology that the aliens had never seen before to punch through their communication jamming systems and override their emergency networks. Citizens of the galaxy, this is Fleet Admiral Oh Soo-young of the Terran Defense Force. For 3 years, humanity sought peaceful membership in galactic civilization. We offered friendship, cooperation, and mutual benefit. The Alliance response was to massacre 2.3 million innocent civilians at New Sol Colony. You wanted to judge our worthiness to join your civilization. You claimed that we were primitive warmongers who could not be trusted with advanced technology. Today you will begin to understand what Earth's children are truly capable of when we stop pretending to be civilized. We are not seeking conquest or territory. We are not interested in ruling over other species or imposing our will on galactic civilization. We have a single. The Galactic Council emergency session had been running for 18 hours without a break. Representatives from 12 species sat in their specialized chambers, while holographic displays showed the systematic destruction of Alliance military assets throughout the galaxy. What had started as a simple operation to control human expansion had become a nightmare that no one understood how to stop. Velthar of the Kethmori was no longer the confident leader who had dismissed humanity. 3 weeks earlier, the crystalline being's body flickered with colors that indicated extreme stress and confusion. Explain to me how a primitive species with 3 small defensive ships has destroyed 47% of our combined military infrastructure in less than 72 hours. The Alliance intelligence chief, a Zephyrian named Kekstar, stood before the council with data that made no logical sense. The humans appear to possess technology that is centuries beyond what they demonstrated during diplomatic contact. Their ships can move through space undetected by any sensor system we have developed. Their weapons can destroy matter at the molecular level. Their coordination capabilities suggest some form of instantaneous communication across galactic distances. Where did they get this technology? Demanded the Vorthak representative. Species do not develop such capabilities without other races. Detecting the research and development process. Sir, we believe they have been concealing their true technological level for decades, possibly centuries. The ships and equipment they showed us during diplomatic missions were deliberately primitive designs, meant to hide their actual capabilities. A new voice interrupted the discussion. Admiral Torvek of the Zephyrian fleet had just arrived from the front lines with reports that shattered the Council's remaining confidence. The humans are not just attacking our military installations. They are systematically targeting our command structure and supply networks with impossible precision. Elaborate. 3 hours ago, human forces struck our logistics base at Kethmoran. The base was hidden in an asteroid field that is not marked on any galactic charts. Only 17 people in the entire fleet command knew the location. The humans found it anyway and destroyed it completely. Velthar's crystalline form began to pulse with rapid color changes that indicated panic. That suggests they have infiltrated our communication networks. It's worse than that, Admiral Torvek continued. The attack was timed to coincide with a supply convoy arrival. The humans knew our shipping schedule better than most of our own logistics officers. They have been observing us for much longer than we realized. The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Humanity had not just been hiding advanced technology during the diplomatic period. They had been conducting comprehensive intelligence operations that penetrated every aspect of Alliance military structure. Colonel Park Ji-hoon was coordinating the psychological warfare campaign from a mobile command center aboard the human stealth ship Phantom. His mission was to break Alliance morale and create panic among their forces by targeting their deepest cultural fears and instincts. Sir, we're ready to deploy Terror Protocol 7 against the Kethmori garrison at Velnarak, reported his aide, Lieutenant Huang Minsu. The base commander is a crystalline entity, designated Quarthek, who has been causing problems for our infiltration operations. Colonel Park studied the target analysis on his tactical display. Velnorak was a heavily fortified military base that served as a regional command center for Kethmori fleet operations. Traditional attack methods would require significant resources and risk casualties among human forces. Begin harmonic terror deployment immediately, he ordered. Make sure the effect is visible to other Alliance installations in the sector. Human stealth ships moved into position around the Kethmori base and activated weapons that the aliens had never seen before. Harmonic disruptors created specific sound frequencies that resonated with the crystal structure of Kethmori nervous systems. For silicon-based beings, the effect was equivalent to having their thoughts torn apart by invisible claws. The attack began with 12 Kethmori guards, on perimeter duty, suddenly collapsing as their neural networks were overloaded by harmonic interference. Security cameras recorded the creatures writhing in apparent agony, while their crystalline bodies flickered with chaotic light patterns that indicated complete mental breakdown. Base Command, this is Perimeter Station 7, called a terrified Kethmori sergeant. Our guards are experiencing some kind of neural cascade failure. Request immediate medical assistance. But the harmonic attack was spreading throughout the base as human ships adjusted their frequencies to penetrate the facility's shielding systems. Kethmori personnel began experiencing symptoms that their medical knowledge could not explain or treat. Some lost the ability to communicate. Others became trapped in recursive thought loops that prevented rational behavior. Commander. Karthek tried to coordinate a defense response but found that the harmonic interference was affecting its own mental processes. Simple calculations became impossible. Memory functions began to fail. The sophisticated mathematical thinking that defined Kethmori consciousness was being systematically disrupted by human weapons, designed specifically for their species. All units, this is Base Command, it tried to broadcast. We are under attack by weapons that I cannot. The harmonics are. The transmission ended as Commander Karthek's neural network collapsed completely. The Kethmori officer fell to the floor of its command center, its crystalline body flickering with random colors while its consciousness fragmented into incoherent patterns. Within 6 hours, the entire Kethmori garrison at Velnorak was incapacitated. Human forces boarded the base using infiltration technology that allowed them to move through solid matter and planted surveillance devices throughout the facility. When they left, the base appeared undamaged, but every Kethmori inside was experiencing permanent neural damage. Captain Imyeji was leading similar operations throughout Alliance space using different terror weapons designed for other species. Her target was a Zephyrian research facility where Alliance scientists were trying to develop countermeasures against human technology. Ma'am, we're in position around the Zephyrian facility, reported her tactical officer. All personnel inside are confirmed to be military research staff. No civilians detected. Deploy chemical terror protocol. Let them experience emotions they haven't felt in 1,000 years. Human ships released invisible chemical agents into the facility's atmosphere systems. The compounds were designed specifically to interact with Zephyrian brain chemistry and trigger emotional responses that their evolved civilization had supposedly eliminated centuries ago. Dr. Yextal was working on quantum scanner modifications when the chemical agents reached the laboratory. The Zephyrian scientist suddenly found itself experiencing something that felt like fear mixed with rage and confusion. The logical thought processes that had guided its entire life began to break down as primitive emotions flooded its consciousness. "What is happening to me?" it whispered as its hands began to shake. Zephyrians had not experienced physical manifestations of emotion for generations. Their advanced brains were supposed to be immune to such primitive reactions. Other researchers throughout the facility were having similar experiences. Some began crying uncontrollably as human-designed chemicals triggered grief responses. Others became violently angry and started destroying their own equipment. A few experienced what humans called panic attacks and collapsed under the stress of emotions their species had forgotten how to handle. The facility's commanding officer, Admiral Vexmore, tried to contact Alliance headquarters but found that Emotional turmoil was making logical communication impossible. Fleet Command, we are experiencing some kind of biological attack. Our personnel are, I cannot control. The feelings are overwhelming. The transmission was cut short as Admiral Vexmore was overcome by what humans would recognize as terror. The Zephyrian officer had never experienced such intense emotion and had no mental framework for dealing with it. Within minutes, the entire facility was in chaos as advanced alien scientists reverted to primitive emotional responses. Commander Ha Dong-min was coordinating biological warfare operations against Vorthak installations from his command ship. The insectoid aliens had different vulnerabilities than crystalline or humanoid species, requiring specialized atmospheric contaminants that would disrupt their respiratory functions. Sir, we're detecting increased communication traffic between Vorthak military bases, reported his intelligence officer. They appear to be sharing information about our attack patterns. Then we need to demonstrate that sharing information will not help them. Begin atmospheric contamination of their main fleet base at Horthval. Make sure the effect spreads slowly, enough for them to understand what is happening. Human ships began releasing engineered toxins into the atmosphere of Horthval, a massive Vorthak military complex that housed over 50,000 personnel. The toxins were invisible and odorless but specifically designed to react with Vorthak respiratory systems in ways that would create steadily increasing panic. General Klickstar was reviewing defense plans when the first reports of respiratory problems began arriving. Vorthak personnel throughout the base were reporting difficulty breathing. Even though it's 6 months after the first human retaliation, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different from the place where humanity's application for citizenship had been rejected. 3 seats remained permanently empty where the Hebridean, Altarian, and Centaurian representatives once sat. Those species had effectively ceased to exist as spacefaring civilizations after human forces systematically destroyed their ability to maintain interstellar technology. The remaining council members sat in uncomfortable silence as they waited for the human delegation to arrive. The beings who had once dismissed humanity as primitive warmongers now understood that they were about to face representatives of the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever encountered. Supreme Commander Hong Mirai entered the chamber with a confidence that made the alien representatives shift nervously in their specialized seats. She wore the black uniform of the Terran Defense Force and carried herself like someone who had never doubted that this moment would come. Behind her walked a team of human officers and specialists who had spent months preparing for this final confrontation. "Honored council members," she said with a voice that carried no warmth or respect. "I am Supreme Commander Hong Mirai, representing the interests of humanity and all human colonies throughout known space. I believe you requested this meeting to discuss terms for ending the current conflict." Velthar of the Keth Mori tried to maintain its former authority, but the crystalline being's body flickered with nervous energy. "Commander Hong, the Council appreciates your willingness to engage in diplomatic negotiations. We believe that recent hostilities have been based on misunderstandings that can be resolved through rational discussion." "There have been no misunderstandings," Commander Hong replied coldly. 6 months ago, this council rejected humanity's application for galactic citizenship and demanded that we surrender our technology and submit to alien supervision. When we did not comply immediately, Alliance forces massacred 2.3 million human civilians at New Sol Colony. Our response has been proportionate and precise. She activated a holographic display that showed the current state of Alliance military capabilities throughout the galaxy. The images were devastating. Shipyards lay in ruins, fleet bases had been abandoned, and entire military command structures had collapsed under the pressure of human psychological warfare. The Alliance began this conflict with 847 major military installations, 12,000 combat vessels, and approximately 200 million military personnel across all member species. Today you control 43 installations, fewer than 800 operational ships, and your remaining personnel are requesting transfer to non-military assignments as quickly as possible. The council members studied the data with growing horror. The systematic destruction of their military capabilities had been so complete that most of them had not realized the full scope of what humanity had accomplished. Dr. Sun Young-ho stepped forward with a data pad containing information that would shatter the remaining confidence of the alien leadership. Council members, we believe it would be helpful for you to understand exactly how thoroughly human intelligence services have penetrated your civilizations during the past 3 years. The holographic display changed to show detailed files on every council member present. Personal histories, family connections, psychological profiles, medical records, financial information, and private communications were all laid out in perfect detail. Velthar of the Keth Mori, you have a crystal mate named Kex Nara, and 3 offspring who are currently studying advanced mathematics at the Velsarian Academy. You suffer from harmonic resonance disorder that requires daily meditation to control. Your private communications indicate that you have been questioning Alliance leadership decisions for the past 18 months, but lack the confidence to challenge. Senior Commander's Velthar's body flickered with colors that indicated shock and fear. No alien had ever possessed such detailed information about Kethmori personal lives. The idea that humans knew about crystal mates and offspring was terrifying, because it suggested that human intelligence capabilities extended far beyond military matters. Torvak of the Zephyrians, you have been conducting unauthorized research into human emotional responses, because you believe that understanding such primitive reactions might provide insights into improved decision-making processes. Your experiments have been hidden from Alliance leadership because they violate Council regulations about psychological manipulation of other species. The Zephyrian representative tried to maintain its emotionless expression, but subtle body language changes indicated extreme distress. The fact that humans knew about secret research projects meant that their intelligence networks had penetrated the highest levels of Alliance scientific institutions. Dr. Sun continued reading from files that detailed the personal lives and private thoughts of every alien in the chamber. The message was clear. Humans did not just wage war against governments and military forces. They had learned everything about their enemies as individuals and were prepared to use that information in whatever way served their purposes. How did you obtain this information? Whispered the Vorthak representative, its insectoid voice barely audible through the translation systems. The same way we obtained detailed specifications for all your military technology, complete maps of your territory, and comprehensive analyses of your cultural weaknesses, replied Dr. Sun calmly. For 3 years you welcomed human observers into your societies as part of cultural exchange programs, scientific cooperation projects, and diplomatic missions. Those observers were gathering intelligence that has now enabled us to dismantle your military capabilities with minimal risk to human forces. Fleet Admiral Shin Hyejin stepped forward to deliver the final demonstration of human superiority. She activated a new holographic display that showed advanced technology designs that made alien engineering look primitive by comparison. Council members, we believe you should understand that humanity has not just reverse-engineered your technology. We have improved upon everything you showed us and developed capabilities that exceed anything your civilizations have achieved. The Huar display showed human ships that could move through space-time in ways that violated every alien understanding of physics, weapon systems that could manipulate matter and energy at the quantum level, communication networks that operated faster than light without relying on traditional hyperspace channels. Your species achieved faster than light travel approximately 2,000 years ago and have made only incremental improvements since then. Humans developed FTL technology 127 years ago and have advanced it through 17 major revisions during that time. Your weapons are designed to disable or capture enemy vessels according to traditional rules of engagement. Human weapons are designed to eliminate threats permanently and completely. But how is such rapid advancement possible? Asked the Etherian representative, its gaseous form shimmering with confusion. Because humans do not think about technology the same way other species do. You develop improvements slowly and carefully, testing each advancement for decades before implementation. Humans view technology as a tool for survival and are willing to take risks that other species consider unacceptable. When you threatened our colonies, we dedicated every available resource to developing whatever capabilities were necessary to eliminate that threat. The council chamber fell into heavy silence as the alien representatives absorbed the full implications of what they were hearing. They were not dealing with a primitive species that had gotten lucky or borrowed technology from advanced allies. They were facing a civilization that approached technological development with an intensity and desperation that more stable species could not match. Supreme Commander Hong allowed the silence to continue for several minutes before presenting humanity's final terms. The Terran Defense Force offers the following conditions for ending hostilities between human and Alliance forces. First, all Alliance military vessels will withdraw from human territory immediately and permanently. Any alien ship detected within 50 light years of a human colony will be destroyed without warning or negotiation. Second, the species responsible for the massacre at New Sol Colony will provide full reparations to the families of all victims. This includes financial compensation, territorial concessions, and formal acknowledgement of responsibility for civilian casualties. Third, the Galactic Council will formally recognize human sovereignty over all territory currently claimed by Earth and its colonies. No future attempts will be made to limit human expansion or technological development. Fourth, any Council species that wishes to establish peaceful relations with humanity may do so through proper diplomatic channels. Species that prefer to avoid contact with humans will have that preference respected as long as they pose no threat to human interests. Velthar tried to find some way to negotiate more favorable terms. Commander Hong, these conditions are quite severe. Perhaps we could arrange for a gradual withdrawal of forces over several months while we work out details of territorial boundaries and reparation schedules. There will be no negotiations, replied Commander Hong with finality. These terms are not a starting point for discussion.